Well, Islam is not inherently violent or menacing, and that is the image I think that a lot of people have, in part because the media, our media, tends to gravitate towards the most dramatic and sensational events. Leave religion out of the picture, just look at the evening news. It's the building that's on fire, it's the robbery, it's whatever is dramatic and sensational. And of course, when somebody blows something up or someone does something dramatic that has violence associated with it, that makes news. You don't hear about the Christians and Muslims who are sitting down together working on common issues in the community in Indonesia or in Damascus or something like that. That's not news. That's just everyday activity. And so when you tend to see continually the most extreme kinds of things, if you don't know much else, and I think that's a major point of the program, if you really don't know much else about the history of the tradition or what's actually taught or how the vast majority of people live out their religious tradition, but you only have these kind of soundbite images of the extremes, then I think it does tend to leave an impression with a lot of people that somehow Islam is dangerous and threatening and menacing. There are extremists operating in the name of Islam. There's no doubt about that, but that's been true of most religious traditions, and certainly Christianity is no exception historically. And today we find all kinds of things being done in the name of Christianity that the vast majority of Christians find abhorrent and having nothing to do with what they understand the teachings of Jesus to be.
Well, I certainly understand that being a minister and how people will just pull one little piece of Leviticus, let's say, and think that's for all Christians and believers everywhere. And that's just a poor way of doing Bible scholarship.
Well, let me give an example. Flip it around. Imagine you're in Bangladesh,
Okay.
and you know very little about Christianity, but what you keep seeing on television is pictures from David Koresh in Waco, Texas, or Jim Jones, and the disaster in Guyana, or some evangelist, saying we're going to burn Qurans or whatever. If that's the image that you keep getting day in and day out, your image of Christianity would be a very negative, frightening, threatening one. That says nothing about Mother Teresa or Billy Graham or what the Methodists or Presbyterians are doing to feed hungry people downtown, or et cetera. So I think that's when we can turn it around, we can see, of course there are things happening in the name of Islam, and we know there are real dangers. I mean, the buildings were, we were attacked on 9/11 by people, some of whom clearly thought they were doing what God wanted them to do. But this is very much on the periphery, really on the edge of Islam, and I think that's what we have to do, is use this and the events that are happening and unfolding dramatically in the Middle East today as a kind of teachable moment to take that step back and what you're doing with this series and learn more about the world's second largest religious tradition. It isn't built just on violence and extremism. No religious tradition could survive through the centuries if that was at the heart of their religion.